All right. Logan said he's going to go first. All right, y'all quiet. Go ahead, Logan.
Imitate me as I also imitate Christ.
Very good, very good, and very good. All right, Ethan.
Imitate me as I also imitate Christ.
Very good, very good. Jarrett.
Imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Very good, very good. Good job. All right, who's next? Very good, very good. All right. Who's next? Very good, very good, very good. Who's next?
Imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Very good, very good, very good. All right.
Imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Good job, good job. All right. Who's next?
Imitate me as I also imitate Christ.
Very good, very good. Who's next?
Imitate me as I also imitate Christ.
All right, all right. Who's next? Who's next? Everybody's like, okay, okay. All right. All right. Anyone else? Go ahead, Reese.
Imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Very good, very good. All right. It's real simple. It's a real simple thing, right? Anyone else? I don't want to skip somebody or anything like that. Who?
Richard.
Me? Imitate me as I imitate Christ.
I missed a word, but okay.
1 Corinthians 11:1. No, it depends on the translation. Some translations don't have also. NIV. I don't know. I don't know what translation it was, but so I lost the word. Anyway, moving on. That's right. That's right. In the ballpark. Y'all know that. Y'all know I don't. That's right. All right. Anyone else? All right. Very good. Those of you who said it. All right. Write this down. Very good. Very good. All right. Now, if somebody else later on wants to say it, just get me afterwards, and there you go. All right. So let me ask you this question to get us started. Let me ask you this. Y'all put the cards up. What is something in the future that you're looking forward to right now? Getting a dog. Flying cars. All right. What else? What is something in the future you're looking forward to right now? The future is off.
Wait, I got a good one.
What?
Instead of testing products on animals, you test it on pedophiles.
And stalkers.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that.
All right. So, y'all give me some more. What is something in the future that you're looking forward to right now? Summer? Summer. Do what? Your job. All right. All right. Instead of school, doing a job. All right. Now, like, how many of you're looking forward to living on your own? Raise your hand if you're looking forward to living on your own. Raise your hand if you're looking forward to driving your own car.
Yeah.
How many of you are looking forward to just driving by yourself?
Bro, and jamming out to my own music.
All right. How many of you? How many of you, listen, all right. How many of you are looking forward to graduating?
Can't raise my hand fast.
All right. All right, I'm curious about this. How many of you are looking forward to the day when you get married? All right, all right. How many of you are looking forward to like getting the job of your dreams? Okay. All right. Now, let me change the gears a little bit. And let me ask you this, a little bit more serious. When things don't go according to plan, like when things don't work out the way that you want them to, how do you react?
Depends on the situation.
Create a new plan.
Create a new plan?
The abyss.
Stare into the abyss?
Have a mini panic attack and then figure it out.
A mini panic attack? A big deal. A big deal. Let's say a big deal.
Oh,
Right.
then going to dark.
Okay, are we talking about
very dark?
Like you had planned to do it this way, but it did not work out at all. Like you had planned to have this done by this date, but you didn't have it done.
Oh, if it's like a homework assignment.
Yeah, homework is like. Again, stand by.
But a big deal, bigger than which not getting your homework done should be a big deal. Yeah, like say for instance, you want to get into the college that you want to get into and they say no. How would you react? Panic attack, file another college. Reapply to the same college under a different name. My name is Charles Abernathy, you know? Okay. No, I'm sure somebody's named Charles and Abernathy somewhere. But okay. Do you ever get mad when things don't work out the way you want them to? Do you ever get angry? Do you ever take it out on people?
Depends on the situation.
Oh, I take it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Person's open. Not home alone. Wow.
I think a lot of times that the reality of it is, as much as what we might say, well, I'll get set. I dare say the reality of it is that, you know, if it's something major in our life, or there's something that you were really working towards, or if it was a school project that you were really working hard on and something happened and either the school project broke or you forgot to do something or you thought you understood the assignment and you actually didn't understand the assignment. Or it could be something entirely. I think in all honesty, how we react is not always the best way. I think if we're honest, I think a lot of times we might get mad. We might even take it out on other people, which is never okay. But sometimes that's what we do with the future when things don't work out the way we want them to, or something like that. And sometimes we can get nervous. Like we can get nervous about the future. Is the future a little frightening to you? Because the reality of it is there's going to come a point in your life when mom and dad, whoever that is, whoever is the mom and dad in your life, they are not going to be there helping you figure it out. And there's going to come a point to where you're going to have to answer stuff for your own self. You're going to have to figure it out for your own. And that can be scary. I mean, that's just the reality of that. That can be very scary. We might think, what if I fail? Like for instance, with this past Wednesday, we talked about following God's plan, doing what God would have us to do. Well, what if we fail with that? I'm sure at some point or another, we've kind of all had that feeling. What if things don't work out? What if I mess up, or what if I stumble? What if I do something wrong? What then? Actually, let me ask you this. In dealing with God's plans for your future, like what are some things that you've questioned or wondered about? What are some things, when it comes to God's plans for your future, what are some things you've questioned or wondered about? What is it? What is it going to be? Yeah. What will I be in a few years? Where will I be? I know for me, as I was trying to figure out, one of the questions I have was, God, what is it you want me to do? And that can be scary. The realization of like, what if God calls me to do something that I don't think I can do? Or what if God calls me to go far away somewhere? Well, one of the things we talked about was how, like, the big plan for you with God, with you and God, is for you to make God known and for you to know God. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. That is the big thing. That is the big core plan of everybody else. And he calls us to trust. He calls us to like trust and be obedient to him, right? Now, that may mean that as we go and as we lean and trust and grow more and more in God, like, doing the things we're supposed, he might begin to lead us down a different path than what we wanted. If you'd asked me in 8th grade what is it I was going to do, I'd say, do what? I'd be a comic book artist, right? And I'd live in New York City. That was my plan. However, as I try to grow, as I try to seek and to know more about God, the more I realize that God may be wanting me to do something different. And that answer of what is it you want to be turned from, I want to be a comic book artist, to I want to do what God would have me to do. And that was hard because even then people, I realized looking back, and that's the thing, you can always like see clearly looking back. Like you can see God's hand at work in those moments when in those moments you felt like, why am I the only one here? But looking back, you can see how God moved. Or looking back, you can see, well, you know what? If I did it this way, or if I acted this way, if I said I wouldn't have gotten in trouble. I should not have done that. I know looking back that God was leading me in the direction of ministry, of being youth pastor, but I didn't know what that would look like. I was scared to death about what that looked like. It was hard. And I think that is so much the case with us when we think about what God would have us to do. I think a lot of times we think, What if it's this and I don't know how to do it? What if I fail? You ever get scared about doing something and ask yourself, what if I fail? What if I do this and I fail? Have you ever asked yourself that, said that? Scared to death about something because you don't want to fail? You want to do your best effort. You don't want to fail. I think for a lot of us, that might be a lot of times when God is calling, and I'm not, we're talking in the sense of like our future life, but also following what God would have us to do means that there are moments when God is impressing on our hearts. You need to go talk to that person, or you need to share your story with that person, or you need to go be a friend to that person. You need to go sit down at lunch with that person. And we might be like, Lord, what if, no, I don't, sometimes it's just something like that. It's not something necessarily in the future. It's something right here in the moment. And you're scared to death because you don't know what will happen if you do that. What if everybody starts making fun of me because I go sit down with that person? Or what if I go to try to talk to this person, but they say no, or they reject, or I go and try to be nice to this person and they hate me? I don't know if I can handle that. I get it. God understands that too. But the amazing thing is that he simply calls us to trust in him. You can't be responsible in the instance of dealing with other people. You're not responsible for how they react. That's something that they've got to deal with. And that person that might be hesitant to accept your kindness and your friendship might be doing so because they have spent years being hated and mocked and made fun of and stabbed in the back over and over and over again. But the thing that God simply calls you to do is to trust in him, and he will help you through it. And that's the other thing about God. God doesn't tell us to do something and be like, okay, I'll see you later. God doesn't sit and God doesn't call us or tell us to do something or want us to do something and gets us to do it. And he doesn't just stand back and watch. He goes with us. That's why Jesus says at the end of Matthew, in Matthew 28, verse 20, he says, I'm with you always to the end of the age. He goes with us. He's with us. But when we're struggling to trust God's plans, let me ask you this. What do you think God might want to say to us? Have faith. What else do you think he might want to say to us?
Something else would be that he is good and what he does for us is good too.
He's good. What he asks for us is good. Yeah. And Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, right? Plans not to harm, plans to prosper you and give you a hope in the future. Have you ever stopped to think about this? If God is calling you to do something, do you think he believes that you can do it? Let me think about that. God calls us to do something. I firmly believe it's because he believes and knows that we are capable of doing it if we simply trust in him. That's the thing. We have to be willing to trust him in it. So, and the other thing about that we talked about is like, that we can know that God's plans for us are good is because when we see and read in scripture, we see the stories and the things, and we read about that. We read about in Psalm 40 verses 1-5 with David and how he waited patiently for the Lord, and he turned and heard my cry, lift me up out of the miry pit. He put my feet on a rock, and it was a reminder of what God has done in the past and what God is doing in that moment, and it's a promise of what God will do, right? If God says, I will never leave you, that means that what? God will never leave you. Why? How do we know that? It's because the Bible shows us how God was with his people, how God is with us, how his promises he follows through. So how do you think, remembering what God has done in the past, how do you think that can help us trust God in the future? Right. He can do it again. If he's done it before, he'll do it again. That's good. I like that. Now, this week's memory verse is Romans 8:28. So y'all open up your Bibles to Romans 8:28. Wow. Okay. Romans 8:28. I would love for somebody to read it that hasn't read before. Romans 8:28. A lot of times this passage gets mistranslated to be like everything is good because it comes from God. No, that's not what this passage is saying. Who's got Romans 8:28?
Me.
All right, well, go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead.
We know that all things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Is it easy or difficult for you to believe about God's plan for you? You be honest. This is a safe place. Nobody's going to post it on TikTok or Snippety Snap.
I'd say it's really difficult
Is it difficult?
because you can't see the bigger picture.
No, you can't. You can't see the bigger picture. You're right. That's true. Thank you for sharing that. What about someone else? Is it easy or difficult for you to believe about God's plans for you? Is it easy or is it difficult?
For me, it's kind of both,
Okay, why is it both?
because like, some things, may seem easy and some things may be difficult. But,
What would make something difficult?
like,
Not knowing how.
Not knowing how. Okay. Yeah.
a lot of times it's doubting your own self, doubting what you're actually capable of. And like, did I misunderstand God? Like, kind of play head games with yourself.
Raise your hand if you've ever doubted yourself. Yeah. And a lot of times, when we actually follow through and do something, we can see that I actually can do this. Now, if you doubted yourself that you could fly and then you try to prove it by jumping off of something, and then you don't, you still, that wasn't doubt as much as your own brain saying, don't do it. Don't do it. You cannot, you are not, no, you're not. Stop, Richard. I'm sorry. Did I say too much? But anyway.
Intrusive thoughts getting
If you have a
triggered.
jetpack, might work.
Technically, now listen here. You go to a roof and you say parkour, you jump and you fail. Technically, it's failed parkour attempt.
Yes, also probably death, but still. Yes, I do appreciate what you. I love how you looked at it because that was kind of like half full because you're like, well, you did parkour, you just failed at it. I mean, that's true, that's true. But do you get what I'm saying? A lot of times, like we doubt ourselves because it's something we haven't tried, but when we follow through with it, we see, oh wow, I could actually do this. May not have been the exact way that it was going to be, but I did it. And I think that's how it is with God a lot of times, is that because we've never done this sort of thing, at least the way we think it is, we might get scared to do it. Like to walk up and talk to somebody. That's kind of a scary thing, right? What if I walk up to them and I spit food on them?
Don't your mouth.
True story. Or what if I walk up to them and my voice cracks? Or what if I walk up to them and I say the wrong thing? The reality of it is that God wants to use you. And in a sense, it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. You might start off rocky. God doesn't care about that as much as he cares about at the end. Did you do what I say? Did you seek to follow through with it? Did you trust me? And if it means, and if the thing that God may be calling you to do, the trusting in his plan for you is to go and to talk to somebody about Jesus, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be successful, but it may mean that you start the fire that leads to a conversion in their life, that leads them to come to know Christ. And in your own life, in a lot of ways, your decision to come to know Christ wasn't because one day somebody came and talked to you and said to you, you need Jesus, and you got saved right then and there. It may have been that over time, through people talking to you, speaking into you, telling you and showing you who Jesus is, it may be that that's what made you decide to follow Christ. It's like when you throw a rock in a pond, what happens? Makes a what? A splash. And what do you see afterwards? Waves, the ripple effect, right? The same is true with how we impact people. How we impact people, it's a ripple effect. How you impact people at your school, that's a ripple effect. How you impact your family at home, it's a ripple effect. How you live your life and trusting God's plan is a ripple effect. God's plans for you, nobody knows, only God knows what he desires from each and every one of you. And you come to know that as you seek to know more and more about him. I can't tell you that the road would be easy, because chances are it's not. But I can tell you that his plan for you is good. And that all he asks for you is to trust in him. All things work together for the good means that God can take what you're going through and use it. That God can take who you are and use you in a mighty way. And all he says to y'all is to trust him. So this week, what does that look like for you? Maybe it means something as real basic as God is really wanting me to spend more time in prayer. I've got to do that. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what that means. I don't know God's calling me to do it. Maybe it means for you that this week you've got to be more obedient to your parents and your teachers. I know I said the P and the T words. But it's true. Maybe maybe that's what it means for you. But maybe it means for you something else. Maybe it means for you you've got to come to know Christ. To you, I say today's the day that you can do that. Crystal and I, any of the adults in here would love to talk to you about that. You don't have to go to me or you don't have to go to Crystal. You can go to one of us, one of the adults, and let us talk to you about it. Maybe it means that this is the week that you realize that I got to surrender what God would have me to do. You've been fighting it, fighting this calling in your life. This is the week that you no longer fight that calling. I don't know what it looks like for you. What I do know is that God's plans for you are good. And that if you follow after him, you won't regret it. If you trust in him, he will prove himself over and over, like he's done before, like he's done now, and he will continue to do so. So I don't know what it looks like for you, but the challenge for you, I hope, is this: that you follow him. That when you feel that leading, that prompting, when you feel that pulling, and you know it's God, and how you know it's God is God is never going to go against his word. That the things he's calling you to do are going to match up with what his word says in the Bible. So if you feel this nudging to go rob a bank, that's not the Lord. Okay. Please don't. Okay. But whatever that is, I want to challenge you to follow through with it this week. To be open to what God would have you to do, however that looks like. And just know that God's plans for you are good. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for today, and thank you for the good food. And Father, thank you for the caterers being so willing to serve and to be hands and feet to us, Lord. Father, I pray that you just bless us this week as we go, as we think about the future, as we think about what your plan is for us, as we think about how you're leading in our lives. Father, I pray that we trust you in those moments, that you give us opportunities to trust in you. And Father, I pray that you be with those that are hurting. Pray that you be with those that are in pain, whether it's sickness or emotional issues or whatever it is, Father. I pray that they see you in these moments. That in those moments that they cry out to you and they see you and they feel you and they know that you are with them. Pray for Rod and Joan. Pray that you bring comfort to them and their family. Thank you for all that you've done and all that you're going to do. Thank you for being a God who loves us. And it's in your name I pray. Amen.